It all began on an ordinary evening that felt anything but normal, with a fleeting glance at her phone that sent a chill down my spine. The message lit up the screen just as she stepped out of the room. Words that hinted at secrets buried deep enough to shatter the foundation of our life together. How would you react if the person you trusted most suddenly seemed like a stranger? Hi everyone, my name's Daniel, and I'm 38 years old. I work as a software engineer in a mid-sized tech firm in Seattle, where the rain never seems to stop drumming against the windows. We've been married for 10 years to Sarah, my college sweetheart, and we have 2 amazing kids. Our son, Ethan, who's 8 and obsessed with building Lego towers that reach the ceiling, and our daughter, Lily, 5, with her endless questions about why the sky is blue. I always thought our life was solid. A cozy 3-bedroom house in the suburbs, weekend barbecues with neighbors, and those quiet evenings where we'd curl up on the couch watching old movies. Sarah's my rock. She's 36, a marketing manager at a local ad agency, always the one with the bright ideas and that infectious laugh that could light up the dimmest room. Our marriage wasn't perfect. We had our arguments about money or whose turn it was to load the dishwasher. But I trusted her implicitly. Or at least I did until the cracks started showing. The air in our kitchen that evening felt heavier than usual, thick with the scent of garlic from the pasta I just cooked. The fluorescent light overhead buzzed faintly, casting long shadows across the oak table where our family photos smiled back at me. Us at the beach last summer, Sarah's hair whipping in the wind, her eyes sparkling with what I now wonder was genuine joy. She came downstairs, her damp hair clinging to her shoulders, wearing that faded blue robe I bought her for our anniversary. As she reached for her phone on the counter, her fingers trembled just slightly. A micro-movement I might have dismissed as nothing if not for the way her eyes darted away from mine. In my mind, I replayed our day. Her rushed goodbye that morning, the way she'd hugged me a second longer than usual, as if compensating for something unspoken. Was I overthinking it? Probably, I told myself, pushing down the knot in my stomach. She's just stressed from work. But then, as she scrolled through her messages, a soft smile tugged at her lips, one that didn't quite reach her eyes. What was she hiding behind that screen? Daniel's initial denial stems from deep-seated attachment patterns formed over a decade of marriage, where trust acts as an emotional anchor. His hyper-awareness of micro-expressions, like Sarah's trembling fingers and averted gaze, signals the onset of cognitive dissonance. His intuition clashes with his fear of disrupting stability. Psychologically, this reflects a common avoidance mechanism, rationalizing anomalies to preserve the illusion of security. The sensory details, such as the buzzing light and garlic scent, amplify his internal anxiety, grounding abstract fears in tangible reality. Sarah's subtle behaviors hint at guilt or distraction, possibly driven by her own internal conflicts, perhaps thrill-seeking or unmet needs, setting the stage for escalating suspicion. This phase illustrates how betrayal often begins not with overt acts but with eroded emotional intimacy, forcing Daniel to confront his vulnerability. Our days had always followed a comfortable rhythm, like the steady patter of Seattle rain on the roof. I'd wake up at 6:30, the alarm buzzing softly on my nightstand, its red digits glowing in the pre-dawn gloom. The bedroom air was cool and slightly musty, carrying the faint trace of Sarah's lavender shampoo from the night before. I'd roll over, expecting to feel her warmth beside me, but lately, she'd been slipping out earlier, claiming yoga sessions or early meetings. That morning, as I shuffled to the kitchen in my worn slippers, the wooden floor creaking underfoot, I found her already dressed, sipping coffee from her favorite mug, the one with the chipped handle from when Ethan knocked it off the counter last year. "Morning, Han," she said, her voice bright but edged with something I couldn't place, like a note slightly off-key in a familiar song. The kids were still asleep upstairs, their rooms filled with the soft hum of the white noise machine we used to drown out the traffic from the nearby highway. I poured myself a cup, the steam rising in lazy curls, warming my face against the chill seeping through the window panes. Sarah was scrolling through her phone, her thumb moving rhythmically, but when I leaned in to kiss her cheek, she tilted the screen away just a fraction, enough to make me pause. Her skin felt smooth, but there was a tension in her shoulders, a subtle rigidity that hadn't been there before. "Everything okay?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She nodded, flashing that smile again, but her eyes lingered on the device a second too long. "Just work emails piling up," she replied. Her words clipped, followed by a sip of coffee that seemed more like a barrier than a pause. As the day unfolded, the small anomalies accumulated like dust in the corners of our home. At lunch, I texted her about picking up groceries, but her reply came hours later, unusually terse. "Sure, whatever you think." Normally, she'd add an emoji or a joke about my terrible taste in produce. When she got home that evening, the garage door rumbling open with its familiar groan, she breezed in carrying a new handbag. Sleek leather, the kind she'd eye in store windows but never splurge on. "Gift from a client," she explained offhandedly, hanging it on the coat rack where it swung gently, its buckle catching the hallway light. The house smelled of takeout pizza I'd ordered for the kids, greasy and comforting. But Sarah picked at her slice, her fork scraping against the plate in irregular rhythms. Ethan chattered about school, his small hands gesturing wildly, sauce smudged on his chin, while Lily giggled, her pigtails bouncing. Sarah laughed along, but it felt performative, her gaze drifting to the window where rain streaked the glass like tears. That night, as we settled into bed, the sheets cool and crisp against my skin, I reached for her hand. She intertwined her fingers with mine, but there was a hesitation, a micropause that sent a chill through me. Lying there in the dark, the only sound the distant whoosh of cars on wet pavement, my mind raced. Was it just stress, work pressure, or something more? I pushed the thoughts away, focusing on her steady breathing, but sleep eluded me, the clock ticking relentlessly toward dawn. The next few days blurred into a pattern of unease. Sarah started taking calls in the other room, her voice muffled through the door, laughter bubbling out in tones reserved for old friends, or perhaps someone closer. One afternoon, while folding laundry in the basement, the dryer humming warmly, I found a receipt crumpled in her jeans pocket. A cocktail bar downtown, time-stamped late on a night she'd said she was at book club. The paper was soft, ink slightly smudged from the wash, but the details were clear: 2 drinks, not 1. My heart thudded, a dull ache spreading through my chest. I stuffed it back, telling myself it was nothing, but the seed of doubt had taken root. Then came the party invitation. It arrived via email, forwarded from her work account. A colleague's birthday bash at a trendy lounge. "You should come," I suggested over dinner, the clink of forks against plates punctuating the conversation. She hesitated, her eyes flicking down to her napkin, twisting it in her lap. "It's just coworkers, might be boring for you," she said, her tone light but her posture defensive, shoulders hunched slightly. That night, as she typed furiously on her phone under the covers, the screen's glow illuminating her face in eerie blue, a message notification pinged, quickly silenced. Who was she talking to at midnight? Sarah's mistake in tilting her phone away and providing vague explanations for purchases like the handbag reveals a pattern of evasion, teaching Daniel the danger of ignoring intuitive warnings. His error lies in rationalizing these signs as stress, a common denial tactic that prolongs emotional pain. This block highlights how small deceptions compound, eroding trust incrementally. The lesson emerges in hindsight. Early confrontation might have salvaged honesty, but suppression fosters deeper rifts. Through these missteps, characters learn that transparency is fragile. Once cracked, it demands proactive repair. Daniel's growing self-doubt underscores a key realization. Overlooking red flags invites greater betrayal, fostering personal growth toward vigilance in relationships. The doubt gnawed at me like a persistent itch, impossible to ignore yet maddeningly elusive. Mornings now carried a weight, the coffee maker gurgling to life in the dim kitchen light, its bitter aroma mixing with the faint metallic tang of rain-soaked earth wafting through the open window. I'd watch Sarah from across the table, her hair tied back in a hasty ponytail, as she buttered toast for the kids. Ethan's backpack zipper rasped as he packed his lunch, oblivious to the tension thickening the air like fog. Lily hummed a nursery rhyme, her small feet swinging under the chair, thumping softly against the leg. Sarah's movements were efficient but distant, her smile a quick flash, gone before it warmed her eyes. When I asked about her day ahead, her response was a shrug, same old. But her fingers drummed on the mug, a restless tattoo that betrayed her calm. Work became my refuge, the office hum of keyboards and murmured conversations a distraction from the storm brewing at home. But even there, suspicion followed. During a lunch break, rain pattering against the cafeteria windows, I scrolled through our joint bank app on my phone, the screen cold against my palm. A series of small charges caught my eye. A coffee shop near her office, but at odd hours. A boutique I'd never heard of. And that bar receipt I'd found, now digitized in black and white. My stomach twisted, the sandwich I'd been eating turning leaden. Was it paranoia? I closed the app, breathing deeply, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like accusatory whispers. Evenings amplified the unease. One night, as the kids splashed in the bath upstairs, bubbles popping with wet smacks, Sarah announced a girls' night with friends from work. "It's been ages," she said, applying lipstick in the hall mirror, the tube clicking as she capped it. Her reflection showed a woman I barely recognized. Eyes shadowed with makeup, a new blouse hugging her figure. The scent of her perfume, floral and sharp, hung heavy in the air. "Have fun," I managed, my voice steady despite the knot in my throat. She kissed me goodbye, her lips cool and brief, then slipped out the door, heels clicking on the porch steps fading into the night. Alone with the kids, I tucked them in, Ethan's room smelling of crayons and fresh sheets, Lily clutching her stuffed bear, its fur soft under my hand. But my mind wandered. Why the sudden social surge? Her phone, left charging on the nightstand, a rare oversight, vibrated once. I hesitated, the device's glow tempting in the darkened bedroom. A notification flashed. "Can't wait to see you again." From Mark Work. My pulse raced, hands clammy as I set it down untouched. Mark, the name rang vague bells, a colleague she'd mentioned in passing. Innocuous, I told myself, but sleep evaded me. The house settling with creaks and sighs that echoed my unrest. The red herrings piled up, misleading me down blind alleys. A deleted browser history on our shared laptop, explained away as clearing space. A whispered phone call in the garage, cut short when I entered, the concrete floor cold under my bare feet. "Just Mom checking in," she said, but her cheeks flushed, breath quick. Friends noticed too. Our neighbor, Tom, mentioned seeing her car downtown during lunch, but she claimed errands. Subplots intertwined. Ethan started acting out at school, his teacher calling about distraction, perhaps sensing the home tension. And my sister, visiting one weekend, pulled me aside in the backyard, leaves rustling underfoot, to say Sarah seemed distant. "Everything okay?" she asked, her concern mirroring mine. The pressure built, insomnia gripping me. Lying awake, the clock's red glow mocking me, I'd replay conversations, dissecting tones and pauses. One afternoon, while she was out, I found a hidden folder on her cloud drive. Password changed. My heart hammered, fingers trembling on the keyboard. Nothing incriminating, just old photos, but the secrecy fueled the fire. Then, the turning point. A late-night text I glimpsed over her shoulder as she dozed on the couch, the TV's blue flicker dancing on her face. "Last night was amazing. Same time next week. Sender Mark." The words seared into me, undeniable yet not fully grasped. What had I missed? This phase marks the transition from latent doubt to active erosion, divided into stages. Initial anomalies, charges, distant behavior, rationalization, red herrings like girls' night, and escalation, glimpse texts. The point of no return arrives with the amazing message, shifting suspicion from abstract fear to concrete evidence, making denial untenable. Psychologically, Daniel's insomnia and obsessive analysis reflect hypervigilance, a coping strategy that fragments his emotional stability. Sarah's defensiveness signals her own guilt cycle, deepening the rift. This buildup illustrates how relationships collapse in increments, with each stage amplifying betrayal's impact, leading inexorably to confrontation. The message lingered in my mind like a shadow, impossible to shake. I needed answers, but the moral weight pressed heavy. The line between concern and invasion blurred. That morning, the kitchen felt stifling, sunlight filtering through blinds in slanted beams, dust motes dancing in the air. Sarah hummed while packing lunches, her voice light, but her hands moved with hurried precision, slicing apples with sharp snaps of the knife. I watched, my coffee cooling untouched, the ceramic mug warm then cold in my grip. "Busy day?" I asked, probing. She nodded, avoiding my eyes, her ponytail swinging like a pendulum. Work dragged, code lines blurring on my screen amid the office chatter and keyboard clacks. During a break, I researched discreetly apps for tracking, but guilt surged. Was I becoming the monster? Instead, I noted patterns, her overtime coinciding with Mark's LinkedIn updates from events. A red herring emerged. A mutual friend, Lisa, confirming a group outing, but details mismatched. Relief washed over me briefly, the tension easing like a released breath, only to return sharper. Nights turned investigative. One evening, rain lashing the windows with rhythmic taps, I waited until she slept, her breathing even beside me. The bedroom air was thick, scented with her lotion. I slipped downstairs, the stairs creaking softly, to her laptop on the desk. Password guessed, our anniversary. Emails scanned, innocuous at first, then a thread with Mark. "Missed you at the party last week." Her reply, "Me too. Let's make up for it." My chest tightened, vision narrowing. Deleted chats recovered via backup. Flirty banter, emojis hiding intent. A photo attachment, her in a dress I didn't recognize, smiling at the camera. Timestamp, the girl's night. Moral dilemmas swirled. Guilt clawed as I delved deeper, but anger fueled me. Setbacks hit. A locked phone drawer, key hidden. I found it under the mattress, the metal cool. Inside, a burner phone, calls to an unknown number. Dialed it secretly from the basement. Damp air chilling my skin, washer rumbling. A man's voice, "Hey babe." Hung up, heart pounding. Subplots converged. Ethan overheard a call, innocently asking, "Who's Mark, Daddy?" His wide eyes in the living room, toy truck forgotten on the carpet. My sister confided her own suspicions, having seen Sarah with a man at a cafe. Financial secrecy too, unexplained withdrawals perhaps funding rendezvous. A neighbor's dog barked late one night, drawing me to the window. Sarah's car pulling in late, headlights cutting the darkness. The proof mounted, GPS history on her phone, hacked via app, showing detours to a hotel. Receipts in her purse, room service for two. Insomnia peaked, lying awake to the tick of the clock, thoughts obsessive. A twist. One message revealed the affair started at a work party months ago. Emotional, not just physical. Deeper, a hidden alliance. Lisa knew, covering for her. Climax built to the undeniable. Tailing her one evening, rain slicking the roads, wipers swishing. Parked outside the lounge, I saw through fogged windows. Sarah with Mark, hands intertwined, laughing. A photo snapped from my car, flash off, capturing the betrayal. Back home, the house silent, I stared at the image, the screen's glow burning my eyes. No more doubt. Daniel's fear and anger propel invasive actions like hacking emails and tailing, transforming passive hurt into proactive pursuit. Guilt tempers this, creating internal conflict that manifests in physical symptoms like chest tightness. Sarah's hidden motives, seeking excitement amid routine, drive her secrecy, her flushed cheeks betraying subconscious shame. The emotional peak in witnessing the intimacy shifts shock to detachment, restraining rage through clarity. This block shows how jealousy fuels evidence gathering, but discoveries amplify grief, highlighting that actions rooted in emotion often accelerate irreversible consequences, complicating moral landscapes. The photo trembled in my hand as I waited for her return, the living room lamp casting a warm glow that mocked the cold dread inside. The clock ticked, each second echoing in the quiet house, kids asleep upstairs, their innocent snores filtering down. Rain had stopped, leaving a damp hush outside, the air heavy with petrichor seeping through cracks. When the door clicked open, Heels scraping the mat, Sarah entered, cheeks flushed from the night air or guilt. "Hey, you're up late," she said, voice casual, hanging her coat with a soft rustle. I stood, phone extended, the image glaring. "Explain this." My words hung, sharp as the silence that followed. She froze, eyes widening, a micro-flinch in her jaw. "What? How?" stammered. She stepped back, hand to her throat. The room felt smaller, the carpet's texture rough under my feet as I paced. "Mark, the party, all of it." Her face crumpled, tears welling, but denial flashed. "It's not what you think, just friends catching up." Pauses stretched, her breathing shallow, fingers twisting her ring. Confrontation escalated. "I saw the messages, the hotel." "How long?" My voice cracked, anger restrained, fists clenched at sides. She sank onto the couch, fabric sighing under her, head in hands. 6 months. Started at that work event. I didn't mean for it to. Partial confession tumbled out. Emotional void, his attention filling gaps. Gaslighting attempted. "You're overreacting. Our marriage has issues too." Blame shifted. "You work too much." I felt alone. Tears streamed, her shoulders shaking, voice breaking in sobs. Unexpected twist. The affair deeper, involving shared secrets. Financial transfers to him, hidden from our accounts. "He needed help," she whispered, but it reframed everything. Not just passion, but entangled loyalty. My shock turned to numbness, the lamp's light harsh on her tear-streaked face. Dialogue fragmented. "How could you?" "I'm sorry." "Please." Silence is heavy, nonverbal, her averted gaze, my rigid posture. Tension peaked. No screams, just devastating clarity. "I can't trust you anymore." She reached out, hand trembling, but I pulled away, skin crawling. The stillness after. Her quiet weeping, my detached stare out the window, streetlights blurring through glass. Point of no return crossed. If Daniel had confronted earlier, upon the first message, perhaps denial could have been pierced sooner, allowing therapy or reconciliation before entanglements deepened. Instead, delayed action let the affair evolve, introducing financial secrecy that compounded betrayal. Sarah's partial confession might have shifted to full remorse if caught mid-red herring, potentially preserving family unity. This path highlights missed opportunities. Open dialogue at suspicion's onset could reframe expectations, fostering growth over destruction. Yet, the chosen route exposes deeper motives, forcing empowerment through pain, underscoring that timing in revelations alters emotional trajectories profoundly. Days blurred into a haze after the confrontation, the house echoing with unspoken words. Mornings dawned crisp, sunlight piercing the curtains, warming the wooden floors that now felt foreign underfoot. I moved to the guest room, sheets stiff and unfamiliar, the air cooler without her presence. Coffee brewed alone, its bitter steam a solitary ritual. As I stared at the backyard where leaves swirled in the breeze, symbolizing the chaos settling. The kids sensed it. Ethan's questions hushed. "Why is mommy sad?" His small hand in mine during walks, gravel crunching under our shoes. Lily drew pictures of our family, crayon scratching paper, but with figures apart. Practicalities intruded. Consultations with a lawyer in a sterile office, fluorescent lights humming, papers rustling as we discussed division, house, savings, custody. Sarah's remorse surfaced in tearful pleas over breakfast, her voice trembling. "Can we try counseling?" But detachment had set in. I removed my ring, the metal cool, placing it on the dresser with a soft clink. Friends rallied. Tom the neighbor offering beers on his porch, rain pattering the awning, his gruff advice grounding me. My sister helped with kids, her hugs warm, revealing she'd suspected but protected me unintentionally. Wife's behavior shifted. Attempts to repair through notes left on the counter, ink smudged, or cooking my favorites, aromas filling the kitchen. But boundaries held, separate lives under one roof, cold nods in hallways. A double twist emerged. I uncovered my own hidden truth. a lingering resentment from years of her career overshadowing mine, fueling emotional distance I'd ignored. Moral ambiguity blurred lines. Perhaps we'd both drifted. Empowerment grew. New routines. Gym sessions, sweat beading on skin, weights clanging. Hobbies revived. Painting in the garage, brushes dipping into vibrant oils, scents of turpentine sharp. Social life bloomed. Dinners with colleagues, laughter echoing in restaurants, glasses clinking. Therapy sessions in a cozy room, couch soft, unpacking grief into clarity. Divorce papers signed, the pen scratch final but liberating. Now, months later, I walk freely, morning air fresh, coffee in hand from a new cafe, steam curling. Alone but whole, I've rebuilt. Career promotion, kids thriving in co-parenting, their giggles a balm. Reflecting, I see betrayal as a catalyst. Trust shattered, but resilience forged. For the first time in years, life feels truly mine, unburdened by illusions. Summarizing the narrative arc, Daniel's journey from blissful ignorance to empowered independence traces a classic betrayal cycle. Subtle signs ignored, suspicion building to confrontation, and resolution through growth. Psychologically, his denial stemmed from attachment fears, while Sarah's motivations blended thrill and neglect, revealing patterns of avoidance in both. Emotional responses evolved, initial shock to anger, then detached clarity with coping via investigation and boundaries. Lessons abound, vigilance and trust, the peril of rationalizing red flags, and betrayal's silver lining in self-discovery. Character growth shines in Daniel's transformation, embracing ambiguity, his own resentments, for authentic freedom. Universally, the story underscores human blindness to cracks until they fracture, but resilience rebuilds stronger, offering catharsis and hope.